Jund deck here. It looks like we've won the die roll, so we will opt to play first. One thing that we'll play the same 3 matches, but unfortunately there are no more 8-mans, it would seem, on Magic Online right now. So we are kind of stuck just playing these little 2-man queues for sake of time and ease right now. But we'll go ahead and keep this a little bit. I usually like to keep 3 land hands while playing this deck, but we have two, all 3 of our colors essentially. It's kind of hard to pass, especially when our hand is predominantly going to come from 2s and 3 drops. I'm going to just lead on the Smoldering Marsh as well, just in case we don't want to thin our deck essentially of too many lands. We do play 27, which is very good to make sure that we're consistent on them, but keeping Evolving Wilds longer just gives us the opportunity to draw more volume, basically. Looks like possibly humans. It's too hard to tell turn 1. Not too hard at all, it's just humans. So this keep actually feels a little better. If we hit the land, we have Radiant Flames, and that's really all we need here. It's a bit of a bummer, but we can fetch the green source, and this is online at least for being able to get another forest, so we can hit 4 and kind of move our way up the curve here. So we'll probably just let him do what he wants until we Radiant Flames right now, simply for the fact that, he's dumping his whole hand, so then we have, spot removal to back us up and whatnot. If he attacks, good for him. He didn't want to flip it. Yeah, if he doesn't want to flip it, that seems a little crazy to me. Like, he's not getting any huge tempo by attacking with a 1-1 this turn. He gets much more value out of attacking with a 2-3 that's potentially a 3-3 the next turn. Especially when my lands are going into tap, and he can see he has some time. Now, if we draw the untapped land just with how much he's commit, I would be I would say happy to fire off a Radiant Flames. The good thing about playing the 3rd forest too is we can occasionally fetch one with Evolving Wilds when it comes down to it. So now we're kind of in a spot. I'm gonna just ship the turn back. If he opts just to I don't know. I feel like he just wants to go land, always watching here with that attack, but perhaps not. Okay, so he flips it now. I'll probably just hit that at the end of the turn. I don't mind taking 2. Attack. Yeah, we can just take 2 this turn, especially if we get the opportunity next turn to just wrath this whole board, potentially. If not, that's when we potentially start looking at a couple other decisions, but, again, it's the same thing as if we kill it the next turn, and if we kill it now in a lot of ways, so I'm not too concerned by it. We don't get the full value, so there's some argument to be like, well, what if we draw a forest? We should have just killed that, untap, cast the Radiant Flames on 2 colors, and at least hit his board. Now, the concern becomes if he does go always watching the following turn. So we can force him to show him that that's what he wants to do if we play the Nissa in some ways, because his attacks get a lot less profitable across the board, for at least like these 2 little guys here, though he does have an Anointer of Champions that he can just keep back and kind of make sure his attacks are a bit more profitable in going that route. We can't quite Kolaghan's Command, we can Ultimate Price, we can Radiant Flames for 2, and that's about all. So I think that we just pass one more time here. Because then now if he doesn't go always watching, we can just kill the flipped card here, the Incited Rabble, and just, again, just untap and wrath him. The bolster token, if he does draw a creature here, is going to have to go on the Anointer of Champions, so we still hit the 2 across the board and just kind of sweep him out. Now if he has another 1-drop though, that's when it gets a little trickier. So he comes across with everyone as he should. Ultimate Price here. As now we just get to untap it. Leave him with 2 cards in his hands. We have a grip. It feels pretty good. Now we just need to start drawing lands, really. Worst case scenario, because I've noticed some of the white decks do start playing Archangel Avacyn at the top of the curve, so he just goes 5 like that and passes. That's a little concerning, but like now the fact that he's just cracking the clue tells us that like we have a lot of time to be able to rebuild ourselves. He doesn't even get to like do anything with his knight because of how bad our start was. So now that we can do this, I'm just going to have him pitch a card, and then we'll just start like 2-for-1ing basically him into Oblivion to where he's just in top deck mode. So pitches a land. And we are still at a pretty high life total for how much damage this deck can do when it's starting from scratch like this. Like he's just like fighting really hard to stay in this at this point. Next turn we might just... I don't want to let his board get too big. I'm tempted still to just go Nissa Transgress. That doesn't feel bad right now. I mean, this way we don't draw our third forest. It's one less cards where we should start drawing into gas or a black source at this point. Like that, put it into play. We'll see what that last card is. Declaration in Stone. Write it in the old notepad. So now just like one of our top 2 cards have to be a land, because he's going to like Declaration or Nissa to attack into us next turn. So we can just crack the clue, and then either, if we hit a land in either of those 2 cards, Arlen or Kalidas, probably Kalidas on this board, especially now that the Declaration's gone. And if not, I mean there's always the option to just draw the card off the clue and Kolaghan's Command, so I kinda like that actually, now that we just drew a Hissing Quagmire, so I don't even care if he knows that like we're just setting up to Kolaghan's Command in. He didn't play anything, which makes me feel like it's just a land. We'll just start setting the stop on his draw and just kind of doing it then. Give him choices, which usually, I know there's the saying, don't give your opponent choices, it's always bad type thing. But like, he's just going to opt to pitch the land either way. But actually, we'll just do it on our turn. I want to make sure that I know what the cards in my opponent's hand are, what he's drawing. So if we go like this, we kill the 2-1, so we're on a much slower clock. We force him to pitch a card, which was another Declaration in Stone actually, so that's quite good. That's really good actually. Kythian's pretty good off the top and he can make it indestructible, but he doesn't have another creature to actually flip it. So indestructibility, in my opinion, gets a little less good when it's like playing a 3-4 lifelink this turn. Kalidas, pass. As you can see, the deck does a pretty good job of taking over the game, usually between like turns 6 and 10. I found myself winning a lot of games somewhere between turns 14 and 16 when the deck operates properly. Okay, so Languish gets us 2 tokens, leaves him no cards in his hand. Is there any way we can do it better though? There is. So what we'll do here is we just set the stop in our opponent's draw phase. We pass the turn. And in his draw step, we have him discard, we kill the Inspector so he doesn't just get to like use his mana how he would want to. he's just like, whatever, I'll just play it in response, but it's sorcery speed, so make him pitch whatever it was. Hopefully another declaration in stone, because that would just feel great. Town Gossip Monger, that's nothing. But now we get a token. We let him do nothing with his turn. And then we activate Coetus at the end step to grow it to make it survive Languish. There's really no reason to even Languish here, though. Like, I'd rather just have that as backup in case all else fails type thing, so like, I'm just gonna start attacking. Like, that's fine if you want to make your guy indestructible and just let me gain 5. I'm just trying to think if we maybe want to like infinite obliteration something away. It doesn't really feel like it. Like, I feel like infinite obliteration just gets him closer to the cards that like, he wants to draw. So just pass. I don't care. You can attack me. I'll attack you back and gain more life than what you're doing. Like, yeah, he scoops. So it's really hard to beat a Kalias, especially when both your declarations are here. Like, you may have 2 more in the deck, but I mean, like 1 in 10 odds or 1 in 20 odds aren't great. So they're aggro. We want the grasps. They don't play tokens, so we don't need this. That's really all we need. I like the Raz. I actually don't like infinite obliteration nor painful truths here. Question is, do I want infinite obliteration more than painful truths? Like, I mean, you saw we don't get that low of a life total against even like hyper aggressive decks, so we can afford to pay some life to draw some cards, we feel. And like, we even came out like really sluggish that game. This hand's insane. And our opponents want to play and the mulligan, so that's pretty good. That's quite good indeed. So we can just go like tap land, evolving wilds, basics, smoldering is the line we look at for now. Kithian's quite good though. Yeah, it's a good start from our opponent. We'll probably still fetch a green on the evolving wild so we can activate the hissing quagmire. The problem becomes is that this Kithian flips this turn, and that's a little concerning until we hit like a ruinous path. In like my fantasy dream world, he just goes like tap and tap, so this Kithian doesn't flip. Oh wow, Griff Spoon. Card's quite good against us. Yep, flip your Kithian. Like we're at 12 already. resistance, because he gets to untap it and do that, so our opponent's playing well. I'll give him that. He's not been hitting his lands, which is good. Oh wow, and it was a Thalia's Lieutenant was his last card in hand. It's pretty good for us. The problem becomes, he just turns this into what, a 4/4? Yeah. I don't think we can actually, well, we can win. We have to go Wrath into Hero's Downfall. Or Ruinous Path, sorry. Which we got the Ruinous Path, but unfortunately it won't quite be enough here. We can't actually commit a creature to the board, and he gets through too much damage if we just pass to leave up Hissing Quagmire. So the best route for us to take here is we're just going to pass. There's some argument to just well, if we Ruinous Path this and keep up the mountain, maybe he respects the Fire Impulse to kill this, putting us at taking 3, going to 2, and then we Wrath the following turn, but that becomes very much out of the question when our opponent's top deck's always watching. So, we will go to game 3. Hope our opponent doesn't have quite as good a start as they did that game, and I think we'll be okay. Alrighty. I'd love to see a Fire Impulse in the opening hand. That's just such a big tempo swing in our favor, having a 1-drop removal spell for their 1 or 2 drop. I'd also like to see a scenario where the deck is quote unquote going off, because it's really crazy to see where it's okay, I will fill up to 7 cards in my hand almost every turn, or what feels like 7 hands with how many spells I'm casting, including my graveyard. It's just a pretty big snowball effect that can happen from there, especially when you're taking your opponent's resources in the process. So this feels like pretty typical Jund list: hand disruption, removal spells, and couple good closers. So I like that the mana base also supports playing Jund right now. It's something, after having played Abzan for the last 8 months or so, it's nice to be able to just see that I don't have to relearn these 2-color aggressive strategies. I can just with okay, slow grindy control type deck that's very good still. So we don't have a green for this or this, and we don't have any ways to interact early. I mean, the hand is good in that we have ways to play Ruinous Path and stuff like that, but sometimes Ruinous Path's even too slow. We really want one to true drop removal. So I mean, as good as this hand looks, and this is a hand especially I would absolutely love to see some comments about as to whether or not you would keep this or not. I'm going to go ahead and ship it this time around though, and I'm much happier that I did. Much happier. We could play Foreboding Ruins untapped, knowing we're drawing the ultimate price for if he had a 1-drop, his 1-drop, which he doesn't, which is just insane to me. We will reveal Smoldering Marsh. I like to be kept in the loop on what I've revealed. We'll just pass. just real life right now. My opponent missed his second land drop. And we'll just like pick off your one drop and kind of start going to town. Play the Smoldering. Our opponent showed nothing, so we'll give us a little more screen room. We can ruin his path as next creature, which I probably won't do. I'm just going to like let him keep doing his thing until we Radiant Flames in. Oof, rough. Like he's just like, man, I just need a second land drop and I'll be crushing him. But like, it's too late. It's already too late, man. As crazy as that sounds for like being a control deck, like you've stuttered too much in the first 2 turns to even like realistically come back. So like he goes Knight of the White Orchid, I would assume here. And Offensive, he doesn't even have a Knight of the White Orchid right now. It's just ludicrous. I'm just gonna jam Arlen here. Like, there's the thought of like, what if he plays another 2/2 that he can bolster up this and then just attack through your wolf and kill your Arlen? Well, like, I probably will just like not let him kill my Arlen, so it's fine. Like, why would I let him kill Arlen when my Arlen can kill his 3/3 the turn following just by bolting that? So this wolf is here simply to chump block. The Griffin, that's okay though. He also needs to commit a 2-drop this turn, which, I mean, the deck is designed to do exactly that, so. And then Arlen, which buys us time. I actually think I just want to transgress. Oh wow, it's a pretty good hand. So there's a Declaration, a Lieutenant, and always watching. Gideon's the real problematic card here. And you can't do both things next turns, where like the Ruinous Path gets much better, or better yet, even like the Goblin Dark Dweller into ultimate price. Man, I botched spelling Lieutenant. At least I know what it is. We don't have any action at instant speed here, so we'll just activate and get in a couple points of damage. Lessen the load on what we'll have to do later if our opponent does draw out of this situation that they're in. So we drew into a Griffspoon. Which tells me he has a Declaration plus 1 unknown card. I guess I'll like just let him Declaration this guy. And the reason for that is we have the 7 mana now, so we're like at 7 to where Ruinous Path is like a very, very real reality, and enforcing him next turn to commit to the Declaration, I mean, he's not committing anything to his board. So like this essentially buys us a free turn of attacking with a Hissing Quagmire. It just gives us a lot more breathability. I know we're still at 20 life and our opponent's still pretty low on cards, but we are as well. So we do need the opportunity to be able to draw a couple things here. So see, we force that declaration out. Gets no ability to cast a creature. May as well just crack the clue now. And all of a sudden we're ahead on card advantage. So, and we still get green, black, black. Still get to attack with his Quagmire. Get to keep up a fiery impulse as well. So I think we're in pretty good shape. Probably even just doing with manlands, honestly. Like, Declaration doesn't hit those. There's like a lot of good stuff that we can do. We keep him from... if he plays a land, and he just plays another Grispoon, that's fine. We'll just impulse that. He's around 3 of his Grispoons, but like... in this spot, he's just nowhere where he can actually, like, cast a creature that's going to live anymore. I'm just trying to, like, go through some motions in my head as to what my opponent does to get out of this here, and I mean, Gideon doesn't even do it with the Ruinous Path in hand. I was like, well, maybe get, you know, like a second copy of his Gideon. It actually doesn't. We'll fetch a green so we can start double activating. Yeah, it's fun. I'd like to get another creature in the graveyard before I cast this Kolaghan's command, but sometimes that's not an option, which is okay. Creatures get +2/+2 and double the vigilance. Well, nah. No mana up, which tells me this is a surefire point of damage, or 2 points of damage. Now we have a second one, it's like GG, bro. 4, 5, 6, 7. The land's even untapped. There's some argument to putting the Awaken counters onto the Hissing Quagmire. My only argument against that is if he does this, the Hissing Quagmire's gone. Like, this way we still have a 2/2 body that we can just go right through. It is quite good. I guess we could peek at that last card. It's not a land. It's probably a Gideon. The more I think about it, that card is probably just a Gideon. Since we're not, I mean, I'm happy to just draw the card on my turn. I don't need to rep anything at this point. All of these to be red. Get that transgress. Would I like to cast it? Yes. Oh, another declaration. Holy cow. we'll just kill it. At this point, it's almost become like a game of cat and mouse. Like, I'm just enjoying the fact that, like, we stopped our opponent from doing anything anymore. I feel we're about to a point that he realizes that he's about out of options. And I think this will probably be the turn that is the tipping point for that. Yes, I would. No reason to reveal information about the foreboding. I actually don't even care about the 4-4. Like another Nissa though, I guess. We have 6 untapped. So yeah, we can do both. And we'll go back to the old draw step stop. No, he just doesn't even get the option of a creature. We get to burn him. There we go. Tap my manas correctly. Yeah, he scoops, so we got that one, 2-1. His other start was very quick, but I mean, he stuttered a bit in both the games that we won, but like, it's very clear we had the cards and the time, regardless of if he hit us for 3 or 4 points of damage, to still win the game in the fashion that we did. So we will be back for another game here, and thanks so much for watching. I hope you're enjoying the Jund deck as much as I am. It's very fun.